Hey everyone, welcome to It Tastes Different Game Reviews. In this episode, we're going to talk about Vampire The Masquerade Swansong. Vampire The Masquerade Swansong is developed by Big Bad Wolf, published by Nacon. It came out on May 19th of 2022. On Xbox, PlayStation, Switch, PC, pretty much everything. Everything but your mobile phone and your calculator. That's the only thing it hadn't come out on. It's a role-playing video game. It's a single-player role-playing, kind of like narrative-driven, almost kind of like, reminds me a little bit of the Telltale type games. So that story kind of driven Telltale type thing, but a little bit more RPG elements into some RGP elements into it. And, this follows, of course, if everybody's familiar with Vampire Masquerade, it follows the World of Darkness, which if you're, familiar with the World of Darkness, which, the tabletop RPG, if you're a big tabletop person, then you'll know what the World of Darkness is, but this basically falls in line with that stuff. So we'll go around and see what everybody thinks. No, this is not the one, just to let everybody know that's listening, this is not Vampire Masquerade Bloodlines 2. This is not the full action RPG. This is Swansong, which is a narrative driven game. So it is different than the one that most people are probably waiting for, which is Bloodlines 2. Well, let's go around and see what everybody thinks. Patrick, what did you think of Swansong?
It's an interesting concept for a game. It's narrative driven, which is kind of not what I was expecting, to be honest with you. I've never played any of the Vampire Masquerade games. Not even the one that Nick loves. I've never played it, but I was like, okay, cool. Maybe this will be like that, but I guess it's not. From listening to what Nick just said, this is not like the other ones that are come out. We tried the, online shooter style game, and this one is just, for me, it's kind of just an in-between okay game. It's a very much a walking simulator, if you will. It has some story-driven puzzles, and you have to kind of pay attention to what's going on around you, because there's things within the story that you need to solve parts of the riddle, because you play as like three different protagonists, and you're going through different scenarios as each of the three, and they have their own skill sets and pool of skill points and things like that you spend skill points on to level up and stuff. So, I mean, it sounds, in theory, it sounded really, really interesting. But then, the part of narrative driven just kind of gets buried a little bit. I like a good story driven game, but this game's a little bit too much story and not enough like action or anything like that, because there really is no action in this game. The puzzles, in my opinion, are few and far in between. There are not enough of them to keep you sustained. But I won't steal all the glory. Shane, what about you, man? What are your initial thoughts on this one?
I have to say this is starting my list for this new year at POS of the year. This game is garbage. It's broken. I don't like it. I watched faces popping in as crap is, going on. You hear people talking, you got the back of somebody's head and then the face pops in, or clothes pop in, and not even good clothes, like a tie, didn't get to see nothing. It's ridiculous. The game is broken, shouldn't have been released. The story, I don't care for. You pick different characters, stories, blah, 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 but, it's boring. Like I told these guys before we started recording, I wished one of my kids would come in bleeding just so I have an excuse to stop playing. This game's terrible. And I love the Telltale games, the Walking Dead, Wolf Among Us, things like that. I was really into those. I do not like this game. I am not a fan of it. I don't like any aspect of it. I don't think any of it's good. The stat building aspect was not... I don't know. It just was nothing good about it. It was nothing original. It was just crap. I don't like anything about this game. I mean, it's not to be mean to the developers. They should have just put concentrated on Bloodlines 2 and never made this piece of crap. And they should have never made the multiplayer piece of crap beta thing we jumped into. That was a joke. They were just trying to get in on a cash cow of those types of games. And, I hate it. I really do. I don't like this game. There's nothing about this. It is a bore. It is a broken bore. And I'm done ranting. Nick, how about you, buddy?
Well, I don't hate it that much. It definitely wouldn't be in my top 10 most hated games of the year. I don't even know if I have anything currently this year that's in there, but I'm more with Patrick. It's an okay game. It's not great. It's not horrible. It does have some graphical issues. It does have some graphical pop in that will happen, or graphics won't quite load in all the way at certain points. It seems like the further you get, the less that happens than at the very beginning. It seemed like at the very beginning of the game that happens quite often, whereas as I was progressing, it seemed to be less and less of that, which was interesting to see that it would just get less of that going on. But yeah, it's the narrative parts. I think the story is kind of interesting. I don't know. There's certain characters that have make you feel like you want to continue progressing within the story. You get to learn about, you have this mystery set up where something happened with the vampires were going to have a party, this kind of union between them and the warlocks and various things like that. These factions, these cults that were going to kind of come together and be one, be kind of allianced with each other. And, the party, before the party even really gets going, shit hits the fan basically. And now you have all these covens kind of on each other's toes trying to figure out what happened, right? And so you play as 3 different characters, and Patrick had mentioned the 3 different characters, but there's 3 different characters that have different personalities. They're all 3 vampires, and they have their different types of powers. You get to kind of build out what powers you want them to have as far as dialogue choices and various things like that. They have their own set of powers themselves as the vampires, but you get to set out like your dialogue skills, right? Are you really good at deceiving and deception? Are you really good at making the story go the way you want it to go, and various things like that? There's a lot of points you can put into that. It seemed like everybody, though, and I don't know, Patrick, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong. Did it seem like everybody's points all combined, like all the points you got, they weren't? Okay. It seemed like that to me. Maybe I was just using them and wasn't paying attention to the points I had. But I was like, didn't I have a bunch of points for this person and now they're all gone? Maybe I used them all. Because sometimes in the selection screen, you can't, I don't know. For me, I got confused and would actually put points toward things, not on accident. But that's probably a me thing more than anything. But yeah, I mean, and there's several ways, as you go through the story, you learn different things. There's a lot of objectives when you get to these different story points, and you can miss some, you can not do some. It depends on you on the level of how much investigating a scenario that you want to do and what information you're going to get out of it. And with that, the story is going to change and alter in different paths depending on the choices you make. There's a lot of choices you can make and a lot of decisions you can make that the game gives you, and that depends on what choices you make depend on what's going to happen and kind of how everything lays out, which is really cool. I'm not sure how much that impacts the end story of the game, but as you progress, there's different dialogue trees and various things like that you're going to get depending on if you say something, or even if you have enough skill points to say something. Sometimes certain skills will come up, but you don't have any points in them, and so you can't use them, and that sucks. When you're like, I'm going to put my points in this, and then you like get all these dialogue options that you have no points in or very little, and you're like, dang, I should have put points in that one. But ultimately, I think it's an all right game, right? It's not great. I don't think it's as bad as Shane's version of the game, but I don't think it's like game of the year or anything. I think it's just okay.
Yeah. I will say, I feel like the game, it lacks a little bit of something. What I mean by that is, I don't know how many times I get into a dice battle with the NPCs. So there's, like, as Nick was saying, there's dialogue options where you can like dominate them, or you can persuade them. You have like four main like dialogue abilities. There's like persuasion, dominate, and a couple others. And it seems like every time I get into a tie with the NPC, I always lose the roll. I'm like, how the hell does that happen? Does the computer always win? I think I've won one tying roll out of the entire time I played this. And, and I'm like, that just seems like.
I think it runs off the blackjack thing where dealer always gets one.
Right.
House always wins.
Right. Yep. Yeah. Because, you can go through the whole game without doing any of the dialogue options if you want. It's completely doable. You just get bonus experience and bonus points for doing the dialogue options, like dominating somebody or influencing them or persuading them, in the chat conversations. But the game is really centered around keying off of things in the game, solving puzzles, and finding all of because there's all kinds of stuff in the map. Just because the objectives on the map are listed, those aren't all the objectives in the map. There's like things you have to destroy, you hide from the authorities getting, solving different aspects of the puzzle, and so that's where it's got a really the story is pretty flexible. That's what I should say. The story is very flexible that you could screw up and get some or all the objectives done. Or none of the objectives. I guess we just go in acting like a fool, but there you do have to read, and that's probably why Shane hates it. You have to read. You have to read all the articles because there's one whole scene in there where you got to find the combination to a safe, and it's his daughter's birthday, and you got to read through all the crap to piece together her birthday, and then you got to piece together the phone number to dial and stuff like that. There's just not it doesn't give you all the information. It's like, okay, hey, I've gathered all the pieces of information. I'm going to go up to the wall safe. It doesn't punch in the numbers for you in the wall safe. You got to go put in her birth date, or you got to go up to the little phone and you got to dial the number. It's not going to give it to you, and it doesn't keep it in this nice little neat little journal for you. It's just stuff you have to remember. So if that's your if you like things like that, this game is going to be in your wheelhouse, because as Nick said, every vampire is different. Like the Bertold, or I can't remember. I always get his name confused. But there's a mem, and then there's the seer girl who can go invisible and stuff like that. And the other guy, Caleb. Yeah, they'll call him something else. Starts with a B, I thought, but after time. But anyway, Caleb goes in and he can dominate. He's really good at that type of stuff and things like that. So everybody is just he has abilities where he can use his pool of blood to increase his dialogue abilities, so he can put more force behind it. And then, and things like that. So, and then Mem, who's kind of a semi-celebrity, she can put her celebrity powers behind to influence people and things like that. So there's there's 8 different stats you can put your points into on top of the 3 special abilities per vampire. Each vampire has their own specific abilities that you can put points into them. They're quite pricey. Like the bottom tier is like 10 points each, and then it's like 30 and then 90. And then so it gets expensive. And there's I think there's 2 different types of education ones. There's 2 different types of technology one. There's 4 kinds of conversational things that you can do. So you really can screw up a character, just like a typical RPG by throwing your stats around wherever without focusing. But you really don't know what to expect, especially me not knowing these games and coming into it, thinking it was a little bit of a different game than what it is. So, but for me, it's just okay. It has not enough puzzles and logic puzzles, in my opinion, to be a narrative-based game. There's too much talking and not enough actually you engaging and doing the stuff you want to do.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm going to jump back to what Nick said about the graphics, how they seem to get better as you play. That's because you're becoming numb to the pain. It's like having your leg cut off. And about halfway through, your body just shuts down and doesn't think about it anymore. So no, the graphical pop-ins, I thought I was having a seizure half the time. So
Nick is right. Once you get past that first section, they're gone. I haven't seen graphical issues once. Yep.
They did seem to dissipate, but somewhat.
Well, the things that cause a lot of issues where a mem's like gold tattoos or whatever, but after that chapter, they're completely covered. So you don't have, that doesn't load in, or if it does, it's loaded into the clothes and you don't see it. I don't have as much graphical issues with the player. I had the graphical issues in the first conclave area where you're all at, but after I got out of that, they were gone. I didn't see any more of those. I had more audio issues than that, where they would either be talking really loud or they'd be really soft. Or at one point I was talking to a guy and he was talking directly to me, but there was no words coming out of his mouth.
I caught that a couple times, but probably not as bad as you. There was the soft talking girl, like right at the very beginning. He was like, it's a freaking Seinfeld episode. You know, I was trying to hear and.
I will say, for a game that's this day and age, my biggest complaint is there's no lip syncing. Like they don't.
No.
When they're talking, there's no mouth movement. There's no nothing. They're just like, you know, and I'm like, okay, you know, there's no lip syncing in this game. And in this day and age, with the technology that we have, and this game is on Unreal Engine. Other games that have Unreal Engine have simulated talking. This game has no simulated talking. They're just like not even syncing up. So I would say this game needs a lot more polish, but even with polish, it's not going to change the gameplay.
No, I wouldn't give a squirt of urine for this thing. I really just do not like this game. The game is not worth anything. I wouldn't regift this game to anybody. It's just that bad to me. They need to take it off and fix it, make it a regular Vampire Bloodlines 2 game. This is a joke. And there's stupid PvP game they made too.
We all know Shane doesn't like to read, so that's why he's giving it some negative score. It's a lot of reading.
No, I don't mind reading. That's one thing I did like about the Telltale games. You know, they had really interesting, to me, the interesting stories and things like that. Wolf Among Us was freaking amazing. And you did read. I read damn near everything in the first 2 Metal Gear Solids. So, but I don't like this game and I would not pay for it. Game Pass would be a good try, but even then I would delete it immediately. But that's just me.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think this game's okay. For me, it would definitely be a discounted game. I think they need some polish to it. It does need to get some updates to get some of the polish and things worked out. I think it's an okay story-driven narrative game, but like Patrick, I agree there is a lot of talking and less action in it. So. Yeah, I would say, like, I don't know, this game was, I think, $60 brand new, and that's what we paid for it. I would say probably a $20. Like, if it was $20, I'd say, and you like narrative-driven games, I'd say go ahead and give it a shot for $20. But at $60, I would say pass it up for now. Anything for you, Pat?
Nope, I agree. It's not worth $60. Unfortunately, that's what they got out of me.
They sucked the $60 out of me. Those damn vampires. It almost feels like this game, just to put something out here, it almost feels like this game initially was some sort of like cop drama type of game. And then they decided, like somebody decided that they were going to stick World of Darkness over it. Right? Like this was supposed to be some sort of cop, because it almost follows, like, it's kind of a weird game for vampires and that kind of World of Darkness to be in. This whole kind of investigative narrative, like almost detective type game. Yeah. You know, it's just kind of a weird scene for that. I mean, I guess it works, but it's just kind of strange.
Right. Yep. I agree with you, because it's a lot of deductive reasoning and just listening to and basically you're investigating every scenario and you're trying to find the ways into the hidden things and listening to people and interviewing things, and you just have vampire abilities. You could see sense and things like that. So it is very much that sense. They're like, hey, we got a great vampire cop noir detective game. Yeah, now we're going to throw vampires on it and we're going to give them special abilities, because that's how most of the missions are solved. You're reading through, looking at the clues and everything, and following the paper trails is what you're doing. You're like, okay, I read here. I'm like, okay, what's this? What's that? Okay, this tells me that there's something over here, that there's something within this information. So
yeah, it's similar to the detective part. Was it Heavy Rain? Yeah, Heavy Rain. How that whole thing took place, and they just throw a vampire in it. You know, so
yes, something like that. It's
by the way, it's an
interesting thing, you know. I mean, because the world of a lot of people are looking forward to Bloodlines 2. I mean, that's I love Bloodlines, and so I think everyone's just looking forward to Bloodlines 2. And I think right now, whoever has the World of Darkness, the Vampire the Masquerade license, is just trying to milk the crap out of it with all these types of other games, and not that one, right? Now, granted that Battle Royale and this game are made by two different developers, so you know, they're two different. And And they had another Vampire the Masquerade game that came out, I think, a couple years ago that was also kind of a story-driven thing. I never did play that one, but that was a different developer too. And Bloodlines 2 is a different developer. So, whoever's maybe Nikon, because they're publishing it, maybe they're whoring out the license, but hopefully Bloodlines 2 will be much better. That's what I'm looking forward to the most. But do you guys have anything else you want to add to Swansong?
Stick a stake in it.
It's done, right?
Vampire puns.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for watching. Leave us a comment down below. Have you played Swansong? Are you looking forward to Bloodlines 2? Have you played any of the Vampire the Masquerade games? And or anything in the World of Darkness? Do you like, and maybe you like tabletops and you play something within the World of Darkness? So, but let us know down below. That'd be awesome. I would love to play tabletop World of Darkness or something, but it's way too expensive. More money than I want to put into it. But just let us know what you think. But anyway, go ahead and like the video. Go ahead and subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Hit the bell notifications and stay up to date with new videos that we do all the time. And we'll see you next time.
See ya.